Yeah, we're doing the article about joint shape and the development of osteoarthritis. Um, in the introduction, I thought it was interesting. It talks about how osteoarthritis is the most common form of arthritis. Um, and I think that highlights like the importance of this article and how actually understanding like how our everyday activity can harm our skeleton and our joint shape, um, can lead us down, I guess, a bad path of osteoarthritis in the future. So I just thought that was interesting and highlighted the importance of, I guess, understanding this.
I
Same.
know it
Oh,
said osteoarthritis was the most common form of arthritis, but I can't remember. This is a genuine question, but like, did it ever say if hip osteoarthritis was the most common type of OA?
yeah,
Um, it said OA of the hip is extremely common.
Did it?
yeah.
I was curious if it was the most common though. That's why
I don't know
I
if
couldn't
it's
remember.
I don't know if they directly state that here because I mean obviously this article is about the hip.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know. It
Okay.
just says it's extremely common.
Because I remember it saying that, but I just couldn't remember it. It was just a genuine question that popped up. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
Yeah, I just looked it up. It said it's most common in the knees, hips, spine, and hands. Um, yeah, it doesn't really give like one that's like, oh, the knees are more common than anything else. But definitely like hips, hands, and knees are super common.
I I think I also did see a part about that towards the middle of the article, I think. So I'm trying to look through my notes. Like it said something about like the I think it's a wrist, knee, hip, but I have so many notes I literally can't even find it. But and I also thought it was interesting that knee pain is more common in women and a lot of um bone disorders are also more common in women. Oh yeah, I found my part of the notes that I was talking about it. It said it's more common in women, and I was just curious why, like if y'all think there's a connection between knee pain and bone disorders being more common in women. Not that y'all have to have an answer. I was just genuinely curious.
Yeah, I don't know. I wonder,
Like
um,
do y'all have any potential theories?
I feel like the first thing that comes to mind for me is like
Um,
maybe like distribution of weight is
I guess
different.
I was thinking that and then like pregnancy too,
Hmm.
because that definitely like affects your hips. But obviously I don't know if majority of women who do have hip pain um gave birth. So
Yeah, that would make sense though.
Those are honestly two very valid theories. I actually didn't really think of either of them, especially the pregnancy one. That one's hella creative, but I would my initial thought was like hormones, but like I didn't know like how that would play into it. Like I know it plays a role in like both pain and like bone health, but like I wasn't entirely sure how because like I don't know. And I also feel like strength training is more like resistance training is more normalized among men, so maybe that could play a part in it too, like knee pain and bone density, because like their resistance training is like proven to help with both. But I actually didn't even have that thought until now, and I can't believe I didn't, because like I feel like that's so obvious, I think. I don't know.
Yeah, that makes sense. Um, should we just go further down the article?
yeah, we can go further down. Oh,
Uh,
with the it being like highly heritable, I thought it was interesting that oh, well, it starts talking about the Netherlands and how like um the difference between like the Netherlands having osteoarthritis of the hip versus like Americans, and I thought that was really interesting, especially when it starts talking about how like African Americans like the disease is like relatively rare compared to like white people. And so I thought that was interesting. And then I thought it was interesting that they brought up the Dutch, like the Netherlands, because like a lot of white people in America come from Europe and around that area. So that's probably why like it's similar, or that's why like a lot of like minorities in America don't have it as often as white people.
I thought that was interesting too, and I also like from the same section, I have like a note how it says hippo way is like more common, like what you're saying, like in or it's wait, I this is a different part, never mind. It's like the same page, but it's like how it's more common in African American men, hippo way is, but hippo way is relatively rare among like people in Africa. So I was like, because like the white people thing, like that makes sense, like coming from like Europe and like the rates are relatively similar, but like people whose ancestors came from Africa and they live in America, it's like more common. It makes me think like, are we eating something? Like, I don't know. Cause like if people in Africa now, it's like really rare among them, but it's like really common here. It makes me think maybe back to the hormone thing, like maybe it's like in our like meats, dairy, like the standard American diet. I don't know. That's what it made me think of, but I did think that's very interesting.
Yeah, when I looked at that too, like I thought the race difference was like fascinating. And I like my first thought was like America's all obviously a lot more modernized than um it is in like in Africa, and I was thinking maybe like because of like machinery here and like the amount of desk jobs that people here like work here, I wonder if the activity level like affects BOA and people.
I'm
Um,
sure it does. But there's also uh like really comparable parts in Africa too to like cities in America,
mhm,
like work
that
wise.
is true.
But I know a lot of them do a lot of physical work and like that probably does
Mhm,
help them. But
yeah.
like at least in like village communities, maybe
Yeah,
not so
I
much the
wasn't trying to
cities.
like generalize all of Africa, but that was kind of my like first thought.
Yeah.
Kind of
No,
like
I was just saying like
No, no.
there's like I get they have like both types, but like probably in the more like rural parts and like maybe rural parts of America too, like there's less hippo way probably, but we just
Yeah,
tend to be more city oriented, I guess. Like
yeah.
I don't know. I didn't think about the desktop part. I feel like probably sitting down all day does not help with hippo way.
when I got to like the wingless pathway, it said like the exposure to sports and other activities with high mechanical overload increased the odd of like hip osteoarthritis. And so like I agreed, like um we are now normalizing um having a sedentary life, and like if we like expose ourselves to like more compound activity, our joints and our bodies are not used to it, so it's causing more problems as we go throughout our lives, and it's like a big factor.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a good like scientific explanation that I guess I didn't really piece together. Like the wingless pathway anyway, because like I've always known like the body will grow under pressure, but like why exactly? I'm like, it just does. But like I no, I get that's a good connection I didn't even think of.
Mm.
I also have in my notes a part about epigenetics. I I don't know if it like outwardly said epigenetics, but it said um like gene environment interactions, but which I feel like is such an obvious argument, but like they did some animal studies that showed it says skeletal shape is determined pretty heavily by genes early on, and then the structure is maintained by homeostasis and repair as the organism matures. I feel like humans are very similar in that way, in that genes probably affect us more early on in our environment, probably impacts more later. Like, not that genes don't play a role, but I feel like like exercising, eating right, like later on that's more important in like determining whether we get hip OA and wingless pathway activation. I was trying to find a way to connect it.
Do you guys think like with all like the genetic mutations that are going around, it's causing more of a problem with the increase of osteoarthritis within like the younger generation?
I personally have seen also the way you said going around, I was like, it sounds like a virus.
No,
But
no, no, it's not a virus.
I know it's not. I was just like the way you said it, I was like, am I gonna get but I haven't heard too much about like osteoarthritis like genes, but I know like the gene pool is generally changing to like it's always becoming more mutated. So I guess it would make sense. Oh, I guess it would make sense. That's why I had a part asking why osteoarthritis is expected to increase more in the next few decades. I feel like that might be a plausible explanation. Like the gene pool is just like more favored towards that and like um mutate it's like more oriented towards mutating more, I guess. I because everything is a mutation, I guess.
Right. Yeah. It's like nobody's perfect, but there's always gonna be that little thing, that little kink that's gonna cause a mutation.
And oh, I guess our lifestyle is probably why osteoarthritis is increasing more too. Like
Yeah.
I guess especially in America anyway, like the mechanizing of everything constantly and like robots probably taking our physical jobs, so we have to sit down at office, type away, customer service, hello, and then eat our little pre-made meals. I feel like everything comes back to that. I did a reading the other day literally over that, and I feel like all of our health issues are like because of that. It's freaking me out.
Yeah. America's definitely not headed towards a healthy like lifestyle, so I won't be I'm not surprised that they predict that more osteoarthritis is gonna happen.
Yeah. But I just feel like we're not getting out and playing enough, you know? Even as kids, like I feel like it's important to like even early on, like with the gene environment interaction, like more kids are like like my own little brother, he grew up more playing video games than like playing on playground, like playing literally every sport like me and my sister did. So like and his weight category is like less than ours was, so we probably had like denser bones. So like I feel like even that is contributing to higher rates of hip OA. I cannot talk.
I had a question kind of relating to that, like I guess relating to the like hereditability factor of it. Did y'all look at like the pictures of like the three different like hip joints? It's at the very, very
Oh
bottom.
yeah.
Oh, I was gonna say actually no, I was like I didn't even know there were pictures. No, I did not. I will go look at them right now.
Yeah, I kind of just like looked at it for the first time. Um, and I don't know, I think it makes me like wonder like what my like hip joints look like, but like I'm trying to I didn't know if any of y'all wrote down like um which type of joint shape is like the worst for
Oh
um
yeah. No,
OA.
I know it's in here somewhere. I just don't remember
Wouldn't it be a I don't even know how to say that.
the middle one.
Yeah, the middle one.
Acetibular dysplasia.
Dysplasia.
It,
Yeah.
yeah, I was gonna say acetabular dysplasia. The only reason I know that is because my dog has that.
Yeah, because like honestly, I had dogs that had that too, and we couldn't do anything about it.
Yeah.
It's really sad actually.
Yeah, it is heartbreaking. I think that's the worst one because of how like the femoral head is like coming out and it's causing more tension and like the socket is just not supporting it enough. So it's just building that the the inflammation more and like causing more problems.
And
Yeah.
then like sometimes the tendon can slip over too, and like it does not make things pretty. It does it I definitely agree. I feel like the one in the middle is probably the worst. And because like it's grinding against the acetabular um fossa. I was like, I forget the word. That lab taught me that one.
Also, it says on the description of the figure that the pistol grip deformity is associated with early osteoarthritis of hip. Like that's the one that they see most when people go in and get diagnosed with early onset. So that's interesting.
Yeah, I was reading that too. I thought that was interesting that they said the pistol grip deformity was the one uh that was associated with early OA, and then the acetabular whatever, I don't know how to say that word, but um like I thought it was interesting. It said that one was linked to incident osteoarthritis. I don't know, it's cool to think about like the differences.
Yeah.
And I was also wondering why pistol grip deformity was more common in men. So I guess later on in life, I'm thinking maybe early life. Like, what would happen in men's early life to make pistol grip deformity more
I
common
don't know,
in
but
men?
they also said in the article that a lot of the people who have like early osteoarthritis is like farm workers. So I wonder if like manual labor like that has anything to do with the pistol grip.
Honestly, maybe my stepdad grew up being a farmer, and he actually like he's been doing farm work since he was like 10 as like his job, and like he has pistol grip um OA. I
Oh,
can't believe I didn't even think about that. But he like had to do it to support his family, so he was like out there a lot. So I guess that would make sense. Never mind. I answered my own question. Case closed.
oh, you're talking about hormones. They talk about estrogen in here.
They did. Wait, I
In
need
the
consult.
in pa- it says um the effective estrogen use in a cohort of elderly Caucasian women followed for a medium of like 8 years found that extraneous estrogen use was associated with a decreased risk of osteoarthritis of the hip.
Huh.
So in women, at least,
Yeah, I
estrogen
don't,
supplements help. Is that what it's saying?
yeah,
Okay, that
basically like
that makes sense.
additional estrogen decrease the odds of it happening.
Does it say if like they started at normal estrogen levels, or is it like supplemented, or like were they like behind or like low on
Um,
estrogen?
it doesn't say because it's only a little line, but I think it's one of the references that they use. So I'm sure,
Okay, I can look into it
yeah.
maybe. Does it say what reference number?
Oh, I found it. It is 6.
Okay, I'll go look at it. Okay, sorry. In the free time, I want to offer something else to discuss. I don't know. I saw. Okay, it says low BMI is another risk factor. What do y'all think about? Do you think it's like causal, or like do you think the low BMI causes hip OA or hip OA? No, it would make sense. But do you think it's just correlated or causal, I guess?
Were they saying that low BMI like lowers
They're
your
saying
risk
it's a
or
risk
higher your
factor.
risk? So it increases your risk of OA?
Yeah.
Well, I
Like,
feel
do
like
you
it's
think it
like
just happens to
backwards
be
from
correlated,
there.
or do you think it's causing it? That's what I was trying to say.
I would say both just because Um, let me find the part of the article I'm thinking of.
It should be. I wrote page 5 for the low BMI part, but I don't know if you're looking for that.
Um, Here it is. So I kind of looked at this other article and it talks about how I'll kind of read it off. It says both the amount of bone and its shape are determined by the mechanical forces that act on the skeleton. And then proceeds to talk about how like each species, including humans, like have a genetic skeleton, obviously, but then our skeleton is able to like adapt to like the way we use it. And so I'm sure that like a large factor is like you're just genetically predisposed to OA, but then your low BMI also would like play a factor into that, if that makes sense, just because of how you're using your body and like the wear and tear over time on that joint.
I feel
So,
like that makes sense. I also had a thought while you were talking. I was thinking also, I know bone density does play a big role in people's weight. So like maybe low BMI is not necessarily maybe it is just associated because like if your bones are like weak and porous, then you aren't gonna weigh as much. So maybe that also has to do with it. But also like yeah, like the wear and tear, like your body probably isn't able to like withstand a ton at least yet. So like I don't know, maybe it's both. I was just curious what y'all thought.
I mean, it also talks about how like throughout adult life, like even when you have like or well, adult life and like through human life, like depending on how your body is, your joints like will like constantly change. And so I feel like with a low BMI, like they're constantly like they have to like work more and like in a tight space, and that could, like in turn just get more wear and tear than someone who has a higher BMI. Did it say anything if
Like
like people with like a
oh
high
sorry.
like a higher BMI have like more risk than people with like lower BMI? You know what I mean?
That's what I was thinking too, because I know that like your joints having to bear more weight, it's like harder on your joints, but like oh, but it's like bone density. I don't know. Maybe it's because you don't if you have like low BMI, you don't have as much weight to carry around. I don't know.
I almost feel like it's backwards in a way though, too.
Yeah, me too. That's what I was
Yeah.
thinking. I was like,
Yeah, like I
yeah, I don't
wonder if
know.
it's like it makes me think that like people with a low BMI are like more active, so they're using their joints more. But then you would think that people who are overweight, their joints would have more stress on them. So it's like it's kind of confusing. It's interesting.
But I guess it also depends on like how you're active because like the more active I got, the more weight I gained, but that's because I like used to do a ton of running and now I do more lifting. So like my bones are like heavier now even though I'm like more active because like I do it more times a week than I used to run. So like I feel like it also definitely depends on like the type of things you do. I don't know.
And I think it like depends solely on the person. And like I agree with what you guys are saying completely.
I did see a part about heritability through twin studies, and it was focusing on women. And I, I'm in fact a female and a twin, but neither of us have hip OA, so I cannot entirely confirm nor deny this, I guess. But um, it says the genetic contribution of hip OA is up to 60%, and I know it's not OA, but I do have like a bunch of knee issues that I most likely inherited from my mom, but my sister didn't. So I don't know. It was just like not like an afterthought, but like just a connection, I guess. But even though it doesn't really have to do with hip OA, I I think epigenetics are just really fascinating. That's all.
Are you guys identical twins or
Yeah. I think
Is
this
it,
study was also done on identical twins. It didn't specify, but I would just assume because they always do studies on us.
is it,
Because if it's like a fraternal, it's like a sibling.
Yeah.
do you have a brother or a sister that
Oh, I'm identical, so we're sisters.
sisters? Okay.
Fraternals, whenever it could be either.
Yeah. Well, I thought it was interesting that like you could have um osteoarthritis of the hip, but like don't have to like you don't have to have pain like with it. Like it can go undetectable. And I was like, oh wow.
I thought that part was interesting too, because I thought with arthritis, it was like you were like pretty much always aware, like because you always see the commercials and they're like you know what I mean. I didn't know there was such thing as like arth osteoarthritis without pain.
I guess one question we could kind of like spend the last, I don't know, 5, 10 minutes on is um like what do y'all think like the importance of like this article is and the research is? Like I guess what's like why is it important and like how do y'all think that it's applicable to real life? Well, I guess it is real life, but you know what I mean.
I don't know. I feel like it is important because no matter like what age you are, you can always get osteoarthritis, and it's kind of important to like at least know what factors go into it. And I mean, I know this article basically says, oh, there's a ton of factors, and not one of them is more important than the other. So I guess it doesn't matter. But I mean, everyone grows old and you like don't want to be in pain when you're older, if that makes sense. Like all you want to do is just like lay out at the beach. Like who wants to not be able to walk? So I think like this need and then also like the older generation is living longer than previously. And so we're having like more cases of this. And so I feel like the importance of this is just to like bring like more awareness to it and try to like get more ways to because there's not really like a cure for it. So I guess just trying to like make sure that people know about it and that like they like have preventable ways to lessen the pain.
I was gonna say I feel like a major factor is like preventative care. I feel like in the future we're gonna have more emphasis on like preventing things rather than like treating it because I feel like a lot of things can be solved with our lifestyle, including osteoarthritis. I like it won't resolve the issue entirely, but like preventative care will take care of like a good chunk of the cases, if not more. So like in the future, we won't even have to treat as many people and overwhelm our healthcare system as much as it already is. So I feel like this article is very important for like, hey, these are some things you should think about. And like it's not even just the joint shape, it's like everything. Like this article talks about like it talks about hormones, it talks about epigenetics, it talks about like all these other things, like not just joint shape, and that we like, hey, we need to be thinking about this stuff. We're we're getting older, like y'all better start being healthy now rather than being in pain later, like what you were saying.
Right. I completely agree with you guys. You took the words out of my mouth. Uh we do need to like bring awareness to it, and this article like proves that there's like a lot more to it than just like what we see. And it's like, oh, it's not just like one type of person, it's like multiple types. And we're like, okay, so what can we do about it? And so like we're continuously trying to find like um ways to prevent it. And like I keep losing my words. And
Um,
no,
sorry, I
go
don't mean to interrupt you. No, keep
no, go
going.
ahead. It's okay.
Um, yeah, I guess I'll like kind of answer my own question, but like I don't know, this article didn't really give like one solution. Like it wasn't just like, oh, as if you exercise more, you know, like you'll lessen your likelihood of getting OA. And so I think like this article, this research is important because it can hopefully lead to like more specific studies that will lead to like methods of prevention or like if not prevention then treatment, I guess. So um yeah, that's kind of why I thought it was important, but yeah. Um
We're confused on that we didn't talk about.
I was gonna say all the vocabulary. I
I
I'm
can't
still
help
not
you there.
entirely sure what a pistol grip even is. Is it like the name of a part of your hip, or is it just straight up the name of the condition? Like
It's
is
I think it's the name of the deformity.
Yeah.
like
I
so it's
think
it's like not an actual part of your hip.
No.
I
Okay.
think some guy was like, "Hey, we should just call this," and they were like, "Yes."
Hey, this kind of looks like a pistol grip. Oh, I agree.
No, that's literally how my um lab professor explained it. Like she was like to make sure you're holding, but like it had nothing to do with like OA. It was like with placing the iliac crest like in the right place. Like hold it like it's a pistol grip or like a gun or something. Like and then hold it to your hip, and that's how you know. So I like wasn't sure, but I just looked it up and it just said like labeled as pistol grip deformity. Like it's not. I don't think it's actually a part of it. I don't think. Yeah, it doesn't look like it. I was just curious. I the whole time I read it, I was like, what? Anyways,
It didn't say there was like one reason, like one of the reasons was more like common in um osteoarthritis than the other one, right? It was just kind of just like, oh, here are a bunch of reasons why you could have it, but there's not one that's more important.
I don't think so. I I
Did you
didn't I didn't grasp that from anywhere.
yeah, I didn't think so either.
Okay.
did you guys look at the table at like the last page, like under the pictures?
I see it now.
Do you guys see the grizzled related protein?
Bro, I don't know what I'm looking at. Like like I see it, but I'm like, this is what I mean when there's like so many like confusing vocabulary words.
Well, I think the table's from one of the
The genetic part.
oh, is it?
It says it's like a specific identifiers of like each gene sequence associated with hip OA. But I
It,
don't
it
know what any of that means because I'm not a genealogist or whatever that person is.
Yeah, it's just like describing the correlation between like a certain gene and its relation, like its association with hip OA, I guess.
Oh
And
yeah.
it's like some stat stuff that I don't really understand anymore. So,
Yeah.
I Y'all, I do have one more thing I was actually genuinely confused about. Genuinely, what I was wondering about is why they call it the wingless pathway because every time I kept thinking about like Wingstop and I was like genuinely, where did they come up with winglet? Like, is that somebody's name? And like, why is it a pathway? Because like in the description of it, it sounded like it said like activation of the wingless pathway. It sounded like something that like releases like proteins, I think. But like, is it an ion channel? Like, what is it? I I don't know. Like, I'm genuinely confused.
What are you looking at?
The wingless pathway. It's on
Oh.
page 3. It just didn't give a lot of context and it just went straight into being like, okay, like high activation, low activation, here's what it means. But like,
I think it's
I
just
don't know
a
what.
protein like pathway. I think it's just for signaling.
But what's a pathway?
I think it's just like how You know, like your nervous system and like all that.
Okay, okay. No, I get it now. I get it now. Because at first I was thinking like cell membranes, and I was like, where is this located? Okay, never mind. That makes a lot more sense to me. Thank you.
You're good. Um,
I guess that's it.